Should I get New Zealand dollars at home or in New Zealand? If I have New Zealand dollars at home or can I exchange international currency in New Zealand? Should I get New Zealand dollars at home or in New Zealand? Zip. Hi there, it's your girl, the sassy engineer. Let's talk money. Money, money, money. Always money in a rich man's world. I like to learn about other countries. There was a time in my life I used to go searching for what people of certain countries look like just for the fun of it. It helped. It really helped. So if you're wondering how do they spend money in New Zealand, this video is for you. Money in New Zealand is called dollars. No, not US dollars. We use New Zealand dollars in New Zealand. You've heard me mention dollars a lot in most of my New Zealand travel vlogs. That's the one. I'm referring to New Zealand dollars in those videos. And no, other currencies are not accepted here. Well, at least not officially or legally. You know how some countries, especially some African countries, will allow people to do everyday transaction in dollars, not in New Zealand. New Zealand dollars and coins are the legal currency here. Okay, in the past, at least pre-COVID, you could walk into a bank and change your foreign money to New Zealand dollars. Now you cannot do that anymore. You would have to go to currency converters where exchange is low and you pay fees and some other hidden charges. Reminds me of the first time I arrived in New Zealand. Terrible experience. I exchanged my money at the airport and don't do it. They said you're desperate. The only bank I've heard that is still doing that is Westpac. However, it's only for their customers. You need to have a bank account before they can do that for you. But the way it's looking, I think either they too will stop in the future or other banks will come back to doing it. Oh, I miss those times. Anyway, let me go back to the topic of the video, which is how we make payments here in New Zealand. First of all, the payment terminal or point of sale is called EFTPOS machine in New Zealand. In Nigeria, we call it POS. Some places call it payment terminal, some simply say till. But in New Zealand, it's called EFTPOS machine. Now, these are the form of payments used in New Zealand. First on the list is cash. Cash is accepted in almost all the stores, but since COVID, many people prefer contactless form of payment. Matter of fact, there are some stores that do not take cash in this New Zealand. I went to a cafe in Auckland Viaduct, bought a scone and wanted to pay cash, and they told me, nope, sorry, we don't take cash here. COVID and the high rate of ram raiding did that. Number two, credit cards. Credit cards are widely used in New Zealand. I didn't know. I didn't know that until I came here. The top card companies that we have here in New Zealand is, the first one is Visa, the most popular, next to MasterCard. Some stores accept American Express. What you have to know is that some stores would also add a fee up to 3% of the purchase in some cases for using a credit card. It's called a credit card surcharge fee. And you will know if you'll be charged because they are legally bound to put a notice on the EFTPOS machine indicating they will charge you and how much they're going to charge. So before you pay, please read the instructions. The stores that charge these credit card surcharges will give an option that will be free. For instance, you could have the option of paying cash or using debit cards. There are some dairies that don't accept credit cards at all. Then you have the debit cards, almighty debit cards. Everyone knows what debit cards is, right? Everyone knows it. Everyone should know it. You all must also know the difference between debit card and credit cards. For those of you that don't know, debit card is like credit cards, only that instead of having access to money on loan in the credit card, you will be spending your own money. So the money you have in your bank account. So if you don't have money, you cannot spend it. Unless you go into overdraft, which, your banks can charge you. Do you want that? Okay, up to you if you want that. Some small stores may not accept it. And if they do, they will charge you extra fees. And this is not even limited to only small stores. Some stores would add fees up to 3% of the purchase in some cases for using a credit card. It's called a credit card surcharge fee. EFTPOS, you will hear this a lot when you come to New Zealand. EFTPOS means electronic funds transfer at point of sale. And you will hear EFTPOS card, especially if you're a uni student or under 18, you will hear that a lot. Honestly, I still don't understand this, but apparently it's a popular means of payment in New Zealand. It's not a debit card, it's not a credit card, it's just a card that allows you to make payments like you would with a debit card. To be honest, I still don't get it, but what I know is, unlike a debit card or a credit card, you will not need to use a PIN, but you will need to own a New Zealand bank account before you can use an EFTPOS card. It's really popular here in New Zealand. Checks, travelers, checks, those things are no longer accepted here in New Zealand. So you have to convert it to cash somewhere else in another country before you come here to New Zealand because they won't accept it. Should you get New Zealand dollars in your home country or should you do that in New Zealand? That's a very good question. So here's a big question. Should you get New Zealand dollars from your home country or in New Zealand? I would say get it when you arrive in New Zealand because I think it will be cheaper to withdraw from an ATM than in your country, and you also avoid those conversion charges, extra fees when you're exchanging at foreign currency converters here. But again, there are also some countries that you cannot get New Zealand dollars. They don't have it. You have to convert to US dollars, and then when you come here, you convert to New Zealand dollars. So there will be some, loss of money somewhere. So that's why I would suggest when you come to New Zealand, you withdraw from the ATM. Now, where can you exchange international currencies in New Zealand? Like I said earlier, you can do that at the international airport, but personally, I find their rates are not great and you will lose more money because of fees. I would advise find a currency converter in a major city like Auckland, for instance, Christchurch, or even better, leave your money at home and withdraw what you need from the ATM here. And you may also be thinking, I will just convert my money to US dollars and then I'll come to New Zealand and I can use it here. No, foreign currencies are not accepted. You can bring your US dollars, but you have to change it to New Zealand dollars before you use it for everyday transactions. And once again, banks are not changing foreign currencies for people. So if you bring US dollars or British pounds or euros, you have to convert them with cash converters. So sorry, not cash converters, with FX people, the foreign exchange converters. And some of them, their rates are really low. Some of them have those hidden charges. You won't even know until you have accepted, and then you will see the conversion rate is low, then there is a service charge, then there is some other charge, and there's another charge. I'm still traumatic when I still remember vividly when I arrived in New Zealand. Back then, I didn't even know. All right, so in New Zealand, our cards have 4-digit PIN numbers. If you don't have a PIN, you can sign for purchases, but I haven't tried it before, but I hear it's possible. However, this is mostly the case for credit cards. For debit cards, I think you need a PIN. Contactless payment is accepted in New Zealand. We call it PayWave, the almighty PayWave. This is the most common. You don't even need to have a physical card to pay. I was so blown away. Contactless payment is accepted in New Zealand. We call it PayWave here. I don't know what you call it in your country. You can let me know in the comment section. But in New Zealand, it's called PayWave. And this is the most common. You don't even need to have a physical card to pay. So far as you have added your card to your phone wallet, you can use your Apple Pay, Google Pay, Tap and Go, WeChat, whatever you use to make payment. And if you're using an Android phone, remember that you need to turn on your NFC to activate that capability. Don't forget that, but it is so good. Now for PayWave, smaller stores may charge you a small fee for using PayWave. Again, it's going to be a surcharge, a percentage of your purchase. So like 0.5%, 1.5%, 2.5%. If you find such stores, it's better to insert your physical card into the EFTPOS machine Why I think they have this surcharge for using PayWave is that the merchant, that's the store owner, is a small store owner, they pay certain fee for PayWave transaction. So if you want to help them out, just insert or swipe your card. Most shops that charge for PayWave also charge credit card surcharge fees. So not that. Now, after you've inserted or swiped your card on an EFTPOS machine, you'll be asked to choose a type of account. Your options would be check, savings, and something else. I can't remember that thing. In Nigeria, and this is from my own experience, we know mainly current and savings accounts, okay? And most people, most students, most upcoming have savings accounts. Now, in New Zealand, we have check, savings account. Those are the two ones. Check is a current account and is the default account for New Zealand account holders. If you'll be using PayWave to make your payment, you won't be asked to select your account type. But for payment over $200, you will need to enter your PIN. It used to be $80 before COVID. And I think the limit also depends on the bank. So what I'm talking about is ANZ. If you make payments online and want to use your card, you may be asked to choose the payment option, and the only option you see for card is usually credit card, at least from my experience. But you probably may not have a credit card, so you'll be wondering, oh, so how can I make this payment? Don't worry, it covers debit or credit card. So simply put your debit card details, unless that website explicitly states no debit cards allowed. If not, your debit card details should work pretty fine. How much money can you withdraw at a time from an ATM? This depends on the bank. So your bank will determine how much money you can withdraw at a time from an ATM. Let me give an example. If you need to withdraw $2,000 for whatever you want to splurge $2,000 on, you may have to withdraw many times. For ANZ account holders, I think the limit is $500 at a time, saying that there are no charges for ATM withdrawals in New Zealand. Okay, so before it used to be $1 if you use a different bank's ATM. Now, no more charges. So if you bank with, let me say, ANZ, you can withdraw money from, say, Kiwi Bank ATM at no charge. And like I said, if you have to withdraw more than 500 at a time and you're an ANZ bank account holder, then you probably will have to do that at least 4 times. Lastly, I'd like to talk about payments at farmers market and fairs. Farmers market is like Uruak Panandem, Uruak Korokubo, Lawanson Market, Uruawat, Lugbe Market. You get me? It's an open market where farm owners and small-scale business owners gather to sell their goods and produce. Cash is the main means of payment there. Before COVID, you could only find maybe 1 or 2 food trucks owners accepting EFTPOS. But now, more and more of them now offer card payment option. But I'll still advise you to carry cash when you visit such places. Okay? Then we look at payment for rideshare apps, like Uber and all that. First of all, the rideshares that we have here are Uber, the main one, Ola, the second main one, and then there's Didi, but this is limited to big cities. Uber doesn't accept cash. Ola doesn't accept cash. Didi doesn't accept cash. Basically, all of them don't accept cash. First time I realized this was when I visited South Africa. Thankfully, it wasn't during the time for when Nigerian government had banned international transactions. Otherwise, I would have been screwed. In Nigeria, you can pay Uber by cash or by card. But here, only card payment is accepted. And this card must have been linked to your account already. Okay? You can't pay for it in the car. You must have linked that card to your account already, which is, I think, the same thing we do in Nigeria, just that the only difference is they accept cash. All right, so that is all about money transaction here in New Zealand. Is there anything I've missed? Ask in the comment section or add those to the comment section for others to learn. I hope you found this useful. Do like, share, and subscribe. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't done yet. Take care and stay alert.